Back again, Dr. Kim.
It is summertime.
It is summertime. That is crazy.
You got on your summer outfit.
I do. I went ahead and just wore this. It's a little cooler in your house.
It's chilly in the studio.
Yes. But it's so this is actually pretty comfortable for me, and I feel like I look cooler in
it. Yeah. Anything that can help. Just go ahead and put it on,
Man, it is June. School's out. It's crazy to think about how fast things are going and how this. Anyway, but it's been a good start of the summer, and looking forward to the rest of the summer. And
absolutely.
But we're enjoying it for sure. Everybody's having a good time. How's everybody in your neck of the woods?
We're doing good. I mean, I think summer's one of my favorite times of year. It just a little more relaxed. I don't cut back that much on work, but I don't know. It just seemed longer days. I love longer days.
Yeah.
I don't like when I'm in the counseling center, I don't like driving home in the dark, and I like driving home in the light. And so all that stuff just kind of energizes me, I think.
Well, I agree with you. And from our standpoint, the kids, they can stay out longer. That's like, what are you going to do at 8 o'clock? Well, you're going to be outside.
Do you lock the doors and keep them out?
Oh, yeah. We don't want to see you for a while. But summer's here. It's fun. And when I think of, and it makes me think of when it comes to summertime, when it comes to family and stuff, is how much of a blessing that is really at the end of the day. All the things that we have, it's a blessing, and then it makes me. And what we're talking about today is blessing others, and how do we bless it? I got a cool story. I was at. I went to go get my car looked at. It was acting funny. It wasn't charging. The battery wasn't charging. I'm like, well, what's going on? And I know I've worked on enough cars I know a little bit.
Yeah. And
I know when an alternator is acting up and what it needs. So I'm thinking, well, but it's not acting like that. So I took it to this repair store or this part store and said, hey, could you guys just look at it and see if you guys hook your machine up to it and see if anything's wrong? So the lady comes out. Her name was Lauren, and she looks at it. And she said, yeah, it's your alternator. And she did some stuff that I'd never seen anything do that you could do before, and listened to it. And I'm like, oh, she goes, your alternator. I was like, well, it's not acting like mine. She goes, I know, but this is what happens typically with other ways that it can happen for your alternator to go out. I'm like, oh, learned something new. I had no idea. And so I would go in, buy the alternator, expecting to change it that day. Kind of had some change of plans, obviously, but it needed to be done. And she looked at me, she goes, what are you doing now? And I said, well, she goes, do you have some margin, some free time? And I said, yeah, I don't have any place to be right this moment. I got some time. And I didn't know what she was asking for. And she goes, well, I'll just change it for you. And I go, what?
Wow.
And so literally she goes out to the car, and another one of the guys that works there, his name is David, came out, and they, on her lunch break, get this, on her lunch break, goes out there and changes out my alternator and everything that needed to be done on that. Just does it right then and there in the car.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, it was incredible. And I asked her, I said, what are you doing? Why do you do this? And she said, I just want to be a blessing to somebody today. And wow, it motivated me, and it really challenged me to be more of a blessing to other people as well, randomly, like just randomly or expectedly, whatever it is, but to be a blessing. And so today we're talking about that. What does it look like as men to be a blessing? First one, how do we bless others?
I think that's a great example.
Yeah.
I think we come alongside people. We look for opportunities to help someone. When I think of someone that has blessed me, they've helped me in some way. Sometimes people help people financially. Sometimes it's an act of service. Sometimes it's in words of encouragement. There's so many ways. I've had so many people tell me that when I've said something to them and come back later and said, that was such a blessing to me that day. I needed to hear that. Well, I think God prompted me, because I wasn't sitting around thinking what to do. But I think those opportunities are there for us every day. And I think it's really just being aware of the people that are in our life, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's people you don't even know. Yeah. And maybe you see somebody, I talked to a guy and he did this over the holidays. He was checking out at a store, and the lady in front of him had like 4 or 5 kids around, kind of like you. But she looked like, she kind of looked like she might also be a single mom, had all this stuff, and he was just watching her as they were ringing stuff up, watching her watch that total go. And as soon as they got it in the total, he handed the cashier his credit card. And he said, I want to do this for you. And the lady just went to pieces. Yeah. I mean, what a blessing it was.
Awesome.
And he found out a little bit of that this, if she was going to even be able to pay for everything that she had put in the basket, there wasn't going to be anything left. And so I think it's sometimes just being aware of those opportunities that are right in front of us. I don't think he ever told her his name.
Yeah.
So he was anonymous, other than the guy that's standing there behind me in the grocery store line. And so I think looking for those opportunities, and then I think with our kids, grandkids, just with my grandkids, just taking some extra time to do something with them that it's gonna impact them because I took the time to do it. And I can always find other things to do.
Yeah.
Always find other things to do.
Yeah, that's great. And it makes me think about that guy when he was prompted to do that. Yes, he was in the right mindset, but the Holy Spirit's moving at that point in time.
Absolutely.
He's like, hey, he sees it out, and God's saying, and that lady probably woke up that day, God, I don't know how you're going to take care of me. I don't know what's going on. I'm stressed out. And God's like, here, watch. Like there's a whole whole budget of ways you can take that, which is so cool to see God move in that way.
And I think it'd be cool to, if it takes a little risk, but what if at the end of the day you said, God, help me be a blessing today to somebody, leave it in his hands and see what happens.
Yeah.
I think that could be really cool.
I think it's great. My wife and I like to do the same thing with tipping waiters and stuff like that, and just to bless them in that way a little bit more above and beyond what they usually do, and sometimes just to throw that out there. And it's such a great example, and we're talking about kids, and that's why I share that, is like my kids get to watch that and say, hey, look what I just got to do.
Yeah.
Not because of anything that I've done, because of what God has given us, what he's blessed us with. We get to share this with somebody, and God moves and works in our hearts in that way to prompt us. Not every time do we feel like we're supposed to do it, but somebody's like, hey, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
That is such it's such a great feeling when you get to do that, right?
Yeah, I agree. Nancy was somewhere, and it was kind of after the restaurant started opening back up, and the young lady was waiting on us really good, and I thought, I'm going to give her a really good tip, or whatever it was. And so I said, I'm going to give her a better tip, and I threw out whatever I threw out, and Nancy said, that's it? I said, okay, we'll throw this out. So that's fine. I mean,
sometimes you need other people to help you bless them more.
Yeah,
I
needed to go up a little bit on the blessing, because I thought I was being really generous. But and I think we had, during COVID, we had so many opportunities to help people because so many people were struggling. Yeah. And so trying to help. But those opportunities are there, I think, before us most days.
Yeah. Yeah, and Awesome Marriage has been a blessing to our ministry as well, to the Engaged Life. So you guys bless us in that way, and other people that are part of what we get to do. So it is, and it's fun to be a part of the blessing, to be the blessing, and it's fun to be a part of the blessing, to receive the blessing too. Both ways. I think
that's a really important thing. I think being able to say thank you is so important, and I think for me, it's hard to do sometimes. Yeah. I love blessing other people or doing something for someone else, and I have a harder time receiving it. Yeah. And yet I know if I don't receive it, I'm taking that out of their hands. Yeah. They're not getting the benefit of seeing the blessing come to fruition of what they've done for me.
One of my friends will say, "Don't take away my blessing. Don't you take away my blessing."
I like that.
All right, I'll take it. I'll receive it.
That's good.
Does today's society, the world that we live in, does it make it harder to be a blessing?
I think it makes it harder to be conscious of it. I think we have to
so conscious, not necessarily being, but
I think
thinking that way.
I think we can all do it. Yeah. I don't think there's anything keeping us from it. I think we get so caught up in our daily lives and go and all this kind of stuff, or instead, or when we're idle. I used to love going into a coffee shop in the morning because I saw a lot of people. We'd talk in line, all this kind of stuff. Now people look on their phones the whole time. Yeah. And so I think we miss out because we're focused here instead of maybe letting our phone down. What is out there? Is there somebody I could help right now? Is there somebody, sitting at a table over there that looks like they're, whatever. Right. I think I'll buy them another cup of coffee or buy them a treat or something like that.
And obviously we're talking, we some of the stories we shared has something to do with finances. I guess this car one didn't necessarily somebody give it, but you just like that, you can give time, you can give energy, you can serve somebody in that way to be a blessing to them. There's different, just to clarify on that too, like there's different ways of blessing people other than just a financial blessing. But the point of all of this is, I just want to make sure people understand that and clarifying that on that aspect. But the point of all this is it's important to be a blessing. Yep. And it is, I do think today in society, the biggest thing we have, and we talked about this last week, is who are you living for? Last podcast we talked about who you're living for, and that goes down to is like if you're living for God on a daily basis, on a regular basis, you notice things, right?
And sometimes, like you said, it's just a word. I was thinking when we were coming back from Mexico, and we we're going through customs, and customs agents can be kind of blah sometimes. Some of you are great. I just put my
There's
foot in
some
my mouth
challenging
there.
ones out there.
But this lady, she was laughing, she was having a good time, she was enjoying it, and it was a blessing to go through her line.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it.
And so I think good. Just, and when I love when I'm checking out wherever it is, and you see somebody and you can tell they've had a hard day, a long day, and just go, how you doing? Yeah. It's a long day. When do you get off? And they just kind of, I got another hour. I said, well, you're almost there. That's great. And you can just see them kind of lift up because somebody paid attention to them. That's a blessing.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And those are great examples. And I do think with what you're saying, I love that story of the the airport people, what do they call it?
Yeah, the customs.
I do think that's so true. You do want to go through the line of people that are, man, they're smiling excited. Like, I'm going through your line. Even the checkout at the grocery store, I'm going, man, you seem like you're enjoying it. I'm going through your line.
Exactly. Yeah, the line was about 100 yards behind her, and all the others had about 3 people in their line.
Yes, there was a reason.
Go through her.
It makes you feel good. But yeah, it is hard. But I think because of it's hard, it's not on, the blessings are not they're still there. It's just we aren't seeing them as easily because we are so distracted with ourselves, with things that are going on, understandably so, but changing that perspective is a good thing. It's perspective truly at the end of the day.
It is.
What do you see day to day, or is it, what are you looking through?
Looking back over all the podcasts we've done, how many times have we talked about the distractions in life that we face and how they get in our way of so many things? Yeah. And it's just a blessing. I think it's just another example that we've got to figure out how to deal with our distractions in a way that lets us embrace and enjoy the things like that being a blessing to someone.
Yeah, there is. And I feel like today people still want to be blessed. I know, yes, we don't always see it, but I believe that in the way that you look around the world, I would say maybe people don't expect it as much as they used to. Like, oh, this is something that what did you do? Like just that lady fixing that car. I did not expect that per se, and it's become more of the norm in my mindset. I just don't expect to be blessed to some degree in any way. To some degree, it's just more of like, because I can just go take care of it, or there's something else that's going on that will allow me to take care of that. But
she may have read you real well and thought he's never going to put this in.
Yeah. It may have been more feeling sorry for me.
No, I think what a neat deal to do for somebody like that. And she got a lot more out than you did, honestly.
I would, yes. And the Bible says it's better to be blessed than to receive. It's better to bless than to receive. And there's something that does something inside of us to us when we are blessing other people in whatever way that looks like.
It makes you feel kind of like, hey, God, you used me in this person's life today. Thanks.
Yeah. And if you can practice this every day, to some way, in some context, every day. It may not be that you're giving out hundreds of dollars, but how cool would that be to look at every day and say, I wake up today, God, how do I be a blessing to somebody? Yeah. What would that do what would that do to us as just men in general? Like, how do you think how would that make us feel? How would our perspective change? How would our lives change? What do you think?
Oh, I think it helps a lot. I think it's just when I'm walking down a grocery aisle and I just see somebody that's kind of distracted and say, hey, how you doing? Yeah. And they turn around and smile. That's cool.
That is so cool.
And it took me a second or two to do that. And so I think, I think it just, I think it elevates us. I think it helps us get a different perspective on life. Be aware of who's around us, what's around us. All those people you pass are people.
Yep.
And they've got families and friends and problems and all that kind of stuff. And just a word sometimes to somebody just can change their day.
Yeah. A simple text message of saying, hey, prayed for you today, how are you? And then that could absolutely alter the whole. I've told you the story of my friend that went to church one day and really was down in the dumps and distraught and had thought about ending his life. That was how bad it was. And he walks out and a pastor says, hey, thanks for being here today. Knew him. And he said his name and thanks for being here today. And it altered his whole day. Wow. It was a simple little word that blessed him enough to change the very perspective of who he was and what he was going to do that day. Left there and didn't follow through with what he was doing. So
that's a great story.
What if with that, there's obviously being a blessing, but there's also the opposite of being a blessing. What do you think? What does it look like to not be a blessing? What does that look like?
Being a jerk.
Yeah. I mean, and even within that same mindset, like what what does being when we're blessing someone, when does that turn into something self-motivating?
Well, yeah, because you want the payoff.
Yeah.
I think when you bless someone, it is given freely, and if you get something back, great. But you've got to do it. There's no strings attached to a blessing.
Right.
You do the blessing. She didn't expect you to do anything when she fixed your alternator. She just wanted to do that. So I think where we get in trouble with it is, well, I did this for you. Okay, and you kind of stand there, lavish me, tell me how wonderful I am. No, you do it. Don't even tell them your name, and you walk away.
And does that happen to do with in marriage too, right? Because there's times that
you don't walk away.
You don't walk away, or I do certain things for my wife with expectations of something, getting something because of that. But that you're saying,
hey, you had sex again?
Yeah. It's like hey, I just played with your hair.
Exactly. And I rubbed your back.
Is that the wrong time? Am I considering that a blessing? Is my mentality wrong? Is what I'm saying on that. But
well, that goes back to us guys wanting a formula. It's like played with your hair a week ago. It was great. Played with your hair now, and you're just looking at me like I'm crazy.
Well,
so I think with I don't know how we got off.
Yeah,
but with your spouse, if I do something for Nancy, I got to do it because I love her, I care for her, and not because I'm going to get something in return.
And you said that I like your story when it talks about when you all were first married or when you were newlyweds or been married for a little, not too long. How you would say that your wife is like, every time you go to bed, you start like, we just want to cuddle. I just want to hang out. And you're like, I'm trying to get something more out of it. But it's like, that's not the mentality of when it comes to blessing other people. It's like, it's not about us. Same thing with your spouse. It's not about what you can get. It's what you can give. Sometimes I'm terrible at that. I won't lie. Like I do this with the expectation to get something back. So mostly with my wife more than
I was going to say, I think it's probably with the people who are closest to us. Don't you?
Oh, I would.
Spouse.
Now that we're talking about that, absolutely. I'm more selfish with them and more expecting something back in return with people that I care about and I love the most, which is...
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
Backwards.
Yeah, that's really good. So I think what tells me is when I'm blessing Nancy, it's just got to be like the lady at the grocery store. Yeah. I do it and hope they enjoy it and I hope it blesses them and that's it.
Yeah, and that's what you do it for. And but it is the opposite of being a blessing is real, and many people in today's society they give something and expect with something back. The Bible even talks about the woman and the guy that was praying, and he gave. They went to go give their tithes, the Pharisee and the woman, and he gave and let everybody know how much he gave and how amazing it was. And she comes up there with, comes up there with just a little bit. It gives everything that he has, and yet Jesus says that man gave more than the one that gave, with the expectations of getting something back because he wanted everybody to see how big of a blessing.
How great he was.
And you do blessing a lot of times, just like the guy in the grocery store you talked about. No one's going to know your name. Like you're doing it because you want to glorify God and have a blessing.
And I think too, going back for just a second, I think when we do it that way, really from our heart with our spouse, I think it does come back because I think that's what you want in a marriage, that you are constantly trying to find ways to bless each other. Yeah. So you don't do it because she's going to bless me back. You do it, and because we do that, it strengthens our relationship. It makes us love each other more. We're drawn to each other more, and we want to bless them too.
And your spouse, she may never know. I would say sometimes your spouse, she may never know that you did something. Yeah. Right? Like there's times that you might do something, she may never know that was you. And that's true. Hard because you want to be like, look what I just did. I just did this for you. And that's okay too.
Oh, absolutely.
Blessing without.
Yeah. I used to call it the Lone Ranger. You know how the Lone Ranger would do something for somebody, and then they'd turn around to thank him, and he'd be riding off out of town?
Some people don't know that. They have no idea who the Lone Ranger is.
Yeah, and if it's the remake that had Johnny Depp or something, Tonto, it was horrible. Yeah. Anyway, the old Lone Ranger was a cowboy movie, TV show. I can't believe you don't know who the Lone Ranger is.
I know who it is, but I guarantee there are people that have been listening that have no idea.
So YouTube, Lone Ranger, old Lone Ranger, black and white, and you'll know what I mean.
Yeah. And it will change your life.
It's best looking horse on TV. That white horse.
Did you know that Tonto meant stupid?
No.
I'm dead serious. I looked that up the other day, or it's been years ago, but I am almost 99% sure it said that Tonto meant stupid.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'll have to.
And he called.
Yeah, that's what he think about. He's calling him Tonto. I'll have to double check on that one. And somebody listening, you guys might double check on that.
So what did Tonto call the Lone Ranger?
This is a joke. I know.
No, it didn't. Kemosabe. Which I don't look up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I don't know what that meant. But he always called him Kemosabe.
I'll have to look it up.
It's our little trip down memory lane.
That's a little trip down memory, but it's good to clarify because some might have left there confused and not know what we were talking about.
I agree.
Now, we talked about the fact that you want to be blessing and not necessarily always letting them know that, and that's important, and being quiet about how you're blessing. But what are other examples when it comes to blessing someone that maybe doesn't require financial exchanges? What are other ways that we can be a blessing to people?
Doing things for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, like if I've got a neighbor and the neighbor just had surgery last week, and I noticed that, you know, they need their lawn mowed. Well, I'm mowing my lawn, and I just happen to roll my lawnmower over there and mow theirs, and never say anything to them.
Yeah.
Don't ask them, can I mow your lawn or something. We have a neighbor that is so good, because on the day we get our trash pickup, I'm usually writing and stuff, and we're supposed to get our trash bins back in, hidden by a certain time. He does that for me a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing that he does it. And he doesn't expect anything in return. Never says anything. Never says, I'll put your trash cans up. But I know he does it. So I think is there someone that has a need around us that we can kind of meet that need for them at that time?
There's a great, I agree. And speaking of those needs, there's a great church that my friend is one of the pastors at. And they specifically, as a whole congregation, will throw out, hey, there's somebody that we know that has this, and they as a church will come together and meet that need for that person, so cool. Without them knowing. Like it's a quiet, like, hey, here you go. What do you want to do? And do with this what you want, with what you want, and whatever you need. Here's your needs being met, and that's an incredible thing. So yes, there is. It's cool to watch God do things through other places, churches, and organizations.
I love the idea of what you just said. If say there is a need, and you think that's bigger than me. Well, no, it's not bigger than God, though. Yep. And so do you gather some other people around? Hey, this single mom, she is, her refrigerator went out, and she's been patching together, and they say can't patch together long. We want to buy a refrigerator. She's got 4 kids. We want to give her a refrigerator that's going to last. Will you go in with us? Yeah. And do something like that. So you let those people sharing the blessings sometimes.
Yeah. And I think it's also good in this context to go back and remember the blessings that we have been given, and just to think, okay, God, and to praise God for that, not to just be caught up in, man, when are you going to bless me again? But it's like, praise God for how He's blessed me, and there's a lot of blessings that we have been given.
Absolutely.
In America specifically, when you can look at it, right? I mean, the fact that you have a home for your car in some kind, like a garage. Yeah, that's a blessing, because 99% of the world doesn't have something like that. You have air conditioning, you have heat, you have places to go eat and food to go get. Like, to remember how God has blessed you is an important aspect of
things we take for granted every single day, until you go to a third world country or something and you realize, wow, we really do have it so good.
What are some steps, and what are some steps that we can take, like as we're moving forward, drawing towards the end of this year, but what are some steps that, as men today, we can take to be a blessing to others? And we've talked about it, but just kind of rehashing a little bit this again and saying, okay, here's some practical things.
I think for me, it always goes back to me and God, and it starts with prayer and God. I want to be a blessing. Yeah. I want to be a blessing. I want people to see you in me, and will you give me some opportunities? And really just putting it in God's lap, and then looking for those opportunities. And it doesn't have to be something big. Just see where God takes you. It may be something that takes you 15 seconds. Yeah. But God uses that in somebody's lives. Or it may take you longer. He may say, you need to mow that guy's lawn. Yeah. And so, okay, I'll go mow the lawn.
Being still and knowing that He's God, and listening to Him and saying, okay, what do you see? That's what you're saying.
There's nobody that directs me like He does. Yeah. A lot of people have good ideas, but nobody directs me like He does, or opens those doors. All I have to do is say, come on in.
Yeah. And you mentioned also just how I mentioned the church, and you mentioned how you're friends with the refrigerator and stuff like that, purchase things, talking to people and say, hey, do you know somebody that could use this or does need this? And being a part of a group of people that are having the same mindset helps a lot too, because sometimes you don't know everything when it comes to who needs what, but there are other people that do, and they can point you in that direction, right?
Yeah, and I think we're here we are in June, so we're a long way from Christmas. Christmas, I think people get in that mood more in December. Yeah. We think about it more, and I think it's carrying that kind of intensity or that intentionality through every month of the year. And so let's do something in June.
Thinking about it that way, and same with the same thing when they talk about blessing others. how do we do a better job of receiving blessings?
Yeah. Some
tips to help men. We talked a little bit about thanking them, and I said, making sure that you're aware of of expressing that. My friend said, hey, don't take away my blessing. Like, expressing your thanks to them and not trying to argue back. It's like, oh, no. Here's another $100. And my friend's listening to this right now. If he is, he's going to call me and tell me you did this to me not too long ago, and we're going to have a long conversation because I had a tip.
I took it away.
He gave it, and I took it away, and I gave it back to him quietly. There's more to the story, but there is something like, how do you receive a blessing? What are some good tips for men today to say, hey, this is how you receive a blessing?
Should it be just say thanks and shut up?
That's part of it. I think that's definitely part of it, for sure.
Just that, and then passing it on too. Yep. I think that's such a big deal. Of when you're blessed, is there a way whatever happened to you that you can pass that on to somebody? If you see the guy ahead of you, talk to the cashier in the grocery line, and it brightens her up, then the person behind you can say, I'll do the same thing. And so just continuing to pass those things on.
Writing a card, if you know that person specifically, sometimes receiving a card from you saying, hey, this is what, and letting them know what your blessing did. Like if they specifically gave to you in regards to, let's just say you said the refrigerator, and it's like, let me tell you what I was able to purchase. We were able to get this refrigerator for this person, or you blessed me and I was able to purchase this with it. Going back to him and saying, and bringing glory to God, because at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's not about the person that blessed you. It's God and him being glory. Say, praise God, this is what he did for you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's motivating. So I'm like, man, that's cool. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that with me.
That's good.
Great things, great topics today, great conversation. Lots of really cool ideas around being a blessing. I can tell for both you and I, this is just something that it's fun to talk about too.
It is, and it kind of energizes me, and I think it helps us. We've talked before about getting our perspective, getting away from all the distractions in life. This is a great way to do that.
Yeah,
having that consciousness of blessing someone else. Man, this is just a good feeling when you do it. And I don't do it for the feeling. I do it because God prompts me, but He rewards me, I think, with some of those feelings sometimes.
Yeah, feelings. He rewards you in different ways to it. Real quick note on that. Don't just think by blessing others that you're going to get something from God in return. Yeah. That's going to be it. That's going in it with the wrong heart as well. But you do get, God does bless you in ways that are incredible when you choose to bless other people. And that could just be by giving somebody come up to you and giving you a hug and saying you're awesome. Yeah. Like just that's the kind of context you have. But blessings are important. Like you said, it is energizing. It is motivating. And it does make you want to go out and do more. Like, how do you bless others? So our challenge to you today is, who are you blessing and how do you bless someone? And are you listening to the Holy Spirit and what God is directing you, saying, just like that guy in the grocery store, I see this lady, I'm going to bless her. Or I'm going to call my friend who's having a rough time. I know he is. I'm going to call him and just chit chat with him and see how he's doing, see if I can encourage him. Those are some great things. And we want all of it, babe. Listen, to be a blessing.
Absolutely.
Before the world needs blessings today.
Absolutely. What if we all got into this?
Man, it would change.
It'd change the world.
It would change the world. So many people today are looking or hungry for somebody to do something positive and to be a blessing in their lives. And everybody's choosing to kind of hold on to their own and kind of hide.
Exactly.
You need to move forward and change that. So better. If you have questions, any input or thoughts or want to add to this, you guys can always direct message us or email us if you want to. You can also find questions at the bottom of this to help you facilitate conversation with a group of men. If you're not meeting with a group of men or you're looking to start one, this is a great way to start. This is a great we want you to utilize this podcast to help you guys connect weekly. So you guys can check that out. Anything else I'm leaving off?
No, I think so. I'd love you to subscribe. Love you to like it. Tell people about it. Get the word out. Tell us if there's other topics you want us to talk about, and we'll put it in the queue and we'll talk about them.
We'll talk about whatever you want us to. Anything. The sky's the limit, really, when it comes to
pretty much.
Always we can always get better at men. And like we say every week, don't be an okay man.
Be a better man.
Thanks for listening.
See you next month.